Alright friends, welcome back to the channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kristen and this is Growing Zone 9B. Today we are in another high pollen day, so if my eyes start watering, you guys will know why. We are still in the red on pollen. We are definitely in the spring, but it is nice and beautiful out, so it is a blessing to be able to be outside and just enjoying this weather. All right, so today's discussion and kind of topic that I just want to touch base with you guys is I had a situation come up, and this is like a really good kind of like therapeutic moment. I think that we can talk about like the messages that we kind of send out to people. And so the situation is long story short, we are going to be working with our neighbors to put in like some new fencing. They actually wanted some the vinyl panel type fencing, and so they want to put it in. And anyway, long story short, the old lady that they bought the house from, they ended up tearing that house down, but this older lady, most of her life honestly was a gossiper. She put a lot of bad NLP out there, and NLP is like neuro-linguistic programming is what we call it in the therapeutic world. And so basically it is you know, words are vibration. I've talked about that before. Dr. Emoto, I can put maybe a link to something that he's done. He's done basically like the water theory and stuff like that, where you put intention into things. And so long story short, she would talk trash about everybody in the neighborhood. She'd talk trash about anybody, everybody, even when she worked in a school setting, because she'd talk about that. She would literally still, in her older life, in her 80s, you know, 90s, was still talking trash about people. And these are people like in situations that have like long been gone. Like listen, why are we still like hashing this nonsense out? Like, nobody cares what you did as a lunch lady. Like, nobody cares what someone else did as a lunch lady. Like, let it go. But she couldn't. She always held on to this negative vibe and this negative energy. And so, you know, to me, from like, I tell you, we're in like a spiritual warfare, right? Like, I tell you that we are, the negative energies are very present. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of change happening right now. There's a lot of negative energy out there, and we don't need any more of it. But this lady was a continuum of just negative vibe. I would try to, as her neighbor, go over there, and she always said she was hungry and stuff. I would make her food. I would help her clean her house. I would, you know, just willingly go over there. Her whole entire family would not come to see her. They literally refused to see her or spend time with her. And so I never really could understand that. Being that my first love was in the field of geriatric care, I just couldn't understand how sometimes these elderly people kind of, what I see as, get abandoned and their family doesn't come around. In this situation, at first, I couldn't really grasp, you know, why her family didn't want to come spend time with her. And she always seemed pretty nice to me for the most part before I really kind of got to know her. And listen, I don't want to speak ill of the dead because the lady has passed on. And so that's not really what this message is about. This message isn't about her specifically, but we need to bring this situation up because I want to draw something to your attention. And so this lady, needless to say, she's gone now, deceased, but the negative message that she has left behind for people is really, to me, kind of disturbing. And what happened was she told the people that bought the house, my new neighbors, basically some negative stuff about me, my family, just stuff that wasn't legit. You know, it just was nonsense stuff. She just hashed years and years and years in her head, and just like a battle that wasn't worth the battle, so to speak, over petty things like your fence is 1 inch on my property, or you know, you're burning and you shouldn't be burning. Like just stupid stuff, like oh, you cut your, like we cut some bushes that were in the front yard. We literally like took some out because they were literally dead. They were like viburnum bushes, and she literally called our association on us and called the county and said we didn't have a permit to remove dead bushes. Like she's that kind of like instigator. Like she had no life, and the life that she did have, even for people that were doing for her, giving to her, making sure she was eating, she would still talk negative to. She literally accused my neighbor across the street, Patrick and Marla. I've talked about them. They're really good people. She accused them of taking her water hose. Like the man came over, Patrick went over to her house, pressure washed her house at no charge, just was doing a kind neighborly thing for an elderly neighbor, pressure washed her house. She accused him of stealing shovels, going into her safe and taking out coins, which when I went back into her house, I was like, well, where were these coins last at, you know? And but she still, I showed her where the coins were. I ended up buying her a brand new water hose. She still had a water hose, okay? The water hose wasn't gone. She just kept saying, oh no, my water hose was new. And I was like, the lady could barely drive. I'm like, well, when did you get it? You couldn't have picked up like, you know, a 50-foot water hose, lady. Like, you're so elderly. My fiance would go over there and pick her up out of her garage. Like, she would fall, and she was like a heavier set lady. He would pick her up like out of the garage. So I'm just like, no matter how much we did for her, no matter how much love we tried to show for her, she still had that vibe on her of just negative energy. She was always putting out the negative vibe. And unfortunately, a situation has occurred where we my neighbors want to put in a fence and this and that, and it was brought up to us. The male neighbor next door said, well, the lady that lived here before said that you guys are, you know, an inch over on the property and this and that. And I was like, this fence was put in, it was surveyed, there was no issues. Like, and listen, I'm not trying to cause issues with my neighbor next door. I love my neighbors next door. They're very good people. They have helped us. The point I'm making is that the vibe she projected in the world got transferred to someone else, and that is the vibe that they picked back up. As much as like I'm nice to my neighbors and we talk and everything, like my neighbors and I, we're cool, like we've talked about it, everything's good. But the point I'm trying to make is that when you push that negative energy out, you never know where it's gonna end up. And that's what I'm saying. Like, this lady's dead and gone, okay? She's gone, she moved on, okay? But her negative vibe is still reflecting back in the world. And to me, that's an energy that I think most of us don't think about. We have a tendency to verbalize something, to say something. We just put it out there, and we don't realize that we are literally programming someone else's mind. We have set a vibe in place that could continue to vibrate through the universe, and it could absolutely affect the way people see someone who is very innocent. To me, that's a form, you know, definitely of like bullying and taking advantage of people, because oftentimes the person doing it, it makes them feel better about themselves when they have nothing. And at that point, you know, she really just had nothing except negative energy. And that is not what we want to leave in the world, friends. This is not love. This is not kindness. This is not the vibe that I want you all to have. So I want you to think before you speak. It's so easy for us to fly off the handle and just say any type of negative thing and just walk away from it and think that that negative vibe or energy is said and done. The universe can be refractive. It can come back to us. It can shift. The energy can go in different directions, and you never know where it's going to wind up. So don't let your mouth take control of something that you don't want to continue vibrating out into the universe. Make sure that the energy that you are projecting to the best of your ability is positive energy, because when I'm dead and gone personally, I don't want someone coming back and being like, oh, this girl said this and this girl talked trash about that, and this girl's basically, you're just a trash talker. And But people believe that if they don't know the other party. And so I just want you guys to just be consciously aware of that NLP, of that neuro-linguistic programming, of what is verbally coming out of your mouth. You are potentially programming someone else to think, and that energy and vibe will at some point resurface potentially. And you know, we don't want that. We have heard even recently where you know, they could go through your phones if you've ever said anything negative, or on your Facebook or whatever, and then they may tell like the other person, it's going to become like public information or whatever if you've got negative vibes that you're putting out there. So I think we really need to step back and kind of think about the words that we're using and how we're using them, and then how that would affect the other person. If it's a lie, then just don't say it. Like, just don't be that way. But like, if something's legitly happening and you need to voice it, obviously voice. Don't feel scared to voice something, but also don't just be a trash talker. Like, we just don't want that, friends, because that's what I'm saying. Now these people that I don't really know have this perception of the lady that they bought the house from, of us. No matter, like, all the good that we've tried to do and the communication and all that was literally shot down in like 5 seconds of communication of, oh, well, the lady that lived here said that you guys blah blah blah. And I was just like, what? Like, this is so far-fetched. It's so far not the truth, and not even directly like related to me in any capacity, like about neighbors next door and stuff like that. Like, yes, I support my neighbors next door when I go out and I buy this old lady a brand new water hose so that she would literally stop talking trash about my neighbors across the street. I love my neighbors across the street. I've told you guys, they are great people. They are wonderful people to have on my side and to be friends with, and to just have, you know, good neighborly love with. And you know, they are just the kindest people, and I'm not going to be the bystander, friends. I never have been. That is why I'm in the field of mental health. I want people to be able to discover themselves and to find their best self, and part of your best self is not putting that negative vibe out. Like, is it really worth it to you? Because now you're dead and gone, and you know what, to me personally, the good Lord's just looking and judging you, you know, and saying, hey, listen, friends, or you should judge yourself. You don't have to worry about a higher power, but just judge yourself and say, hey, is that the vibe that I want out there? Is that how I want people to remember me? Because she's dead and gone, and it's not a positive talk. It's a like, hey, this lady was always talking trash. Here it is now reflecting back on me in an energy that is not true, and now I'm having to like correct the matter and basically put out positive energy and make things like right, and just show these people like, listen, this lady was wacky, and here's the things that she did and said. And unfortunately, I'm not saying it to like bash her. I'm saying it because she has a pattern of negative behavior and negative vibration, and we do not want that. We are vibrational beings, we are energy beings, and we need to be shifting goodness out in the world. So if it's not something that you would want something said about you, then just keep in mind to not say it about someone else, and don't spread lies, don't spread rumors like that, because that's not cute. All right, friends, that was kind of just the brief of what happened. Is just keep your positive energy, keep your vibe high, and we will be back out in the garden really soon. All right, until next time, love one another, be kind, and I will see you guys really soon. Pumpkin will be out here joining me too. All right, friends, so here is your bonus, not bonus, potentially. Here is the book that I'm talking about. This is Dr. Emoto, Love Thyself. As a therapist, this is a really good book that I like to keep around. I love to share this book with my clients. I think it's an amazing book. And it basically talks about the energy that you are projecting into the universe. This specifically represents water. He did one on rice as well. So, and it shows you what these vibes are like. So basically, like if you say the word like happy or happy, this one says happy Christmas. And so here is what the water crystal look like under a microscope, and how beautiful it is when you are projecting that energy into something. Let's see if we can, yeah, okay, here's the word cross, like the cross of Jesus. I mean, there's just so many. He goes through this whole like mantra he does towards water. It's a really good read if you guys ever get a chance. Here are a lot of the images that he shows, and I like to use this with my clients just because it's really good for us to be just putting out positive energy, talking positive to ourselves, not allowing and rebuking any negative vibes that are out there, and just keeping everything positive. You know, the other thing is, you know, maybe approach questions a little differently. It could be more like, hey, could we talk about blah blah blah, I heard this and I just want clarification. So I think transition of wording also is helpful, but somebody who's in the field of mental health is going to have a little bit more experience in that area. But it's just food for thought for you guys to kind of be thinking about how you twist those words. As a matter of fact, my nephew was considering, or is considering, kind of transitioning maybe from some advanced classes into what I would say is like the traditional school type setting and classrooms. And you know, you just have to talk to the kids the same way. I mean, I told him it was his choice at the end of the day if he wanted to make, you know, those changes. But you know, you either work hard now or potentially you work hard later and you pay for that. But the wording that I used was very specific to put the to empower him in his decision, and just kind of lay out what those options and choices may look like should he choose certain paths. And I think when you're just like, no, just take these classes, that's all there is to it, you don't have a choice in it, you don't have a say so, doesn't allow for a child to grow, doesn't allow for a child to feel empowered, and doesn't give them the ability for making, you know, good choices for themselves in the future. They become very dependent on another individual to kind of make choices. And so to empower people and to transition language, I think is really key, and a big thing I think that we are missing in today's society. And potentially, to me, this is why I feel like we see a lot of people in therapy, especially in marriage and family therapy, because people, it's usually communication that gets broken, and that's what we always say is like, there's, you know, there's broken communication here. And so the communication isn't flowing with energy that brings positive resolution. It's just a lot of finger pointing and negative, and you know, sometimes rightfully so, we got to let it out. Anger is a good emotion to have, for sure. I just think we have to find transitional ways and different ways to kind of approach it to where there's empowerment for communication and resolution. So yeah, so there you go. So there's your little bit of bonus, not bonus. I just want you guys to really know that in my eyes, words have meaning, words have power, and this is a really good book to kind of encourage you guys to kind of think about how you present stuff and just kind of calm yourself before you begin to talk, because you just never know where that communication will lead. And so, especially if it's towards another party that you may potentially end up having some type of long-term relationship with, whether that's a neighbor, whether that's a partner, you know, or whether it's a nephew, a niece, whoever that may be. So just encouragement for you guys today. All right, I will see you guys real soon.